Welcome to Leadershipisation, all things leadership. I'm Beth Bergen. I'm a global leadership and communication coach. I work with leaders individually and their teams to build leadership intelligence. And I am here most Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now, a recurring theme, it's been there over and over in the last couple of weeks with my coaching clients, and it's a natural flow on from last week's leadershipization, which was all about, do your behaviours make you a challenging leader to work with? The recurring theme that's there is low self-confidence, particularly when people have moved recently into a new role because it's taken a hit. Suddenly they've got all these extra expectations on them, or when someone has come into a job above them and there's a disconnect in their communication. They're not quite sure about the expectations that are there for them, and their self-confidence takes a bit of a hit. Now, what I want to do today is talk to you about, or to increase your awareness of behaviours that contribute to your lack of self-confidence that you could really easily end for yourself. You could choose to stop doing them. But first, I wanted to sort of demonstrate for you the difference between being confident and having a lower level of confidence or self-esteem. When we're confident, we understand that we're in charge of what happens in our life. We understand that we're making choices about that. And we know that sometimes we get it right and sometimes we don't get it right. So we're more inclined to own our own mistakes. And there's a behavior that's called your locus of control. And when we see our locus of control sits with us, that it's located within us, we're much more likely to trust ourselves, to back ourselves. We're more likely to be open to learning and change, and we take action. We're really good at making things happen because we're learning from those mistakes. We think that the opportunities are bound, they're out there for us, and it really is just up to us to go chase them. Yeah. When we have a lower self-confidence or a lower self-esteem, it's what's referred to as that external locus of control. So we're here kind of waiting for things to happen to us. And that means that we think that those people out there, everyone out there, they're calling the shots, not us. And so we're often a blamer. We blame everyone else. We don't take responsibility for mistakes that we make because there's someone that we can blame. There's someone that we can say, well, it's all their fault. If they hadn't done it, if this hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have done that. Often we're someone who apologizes a lot or gets angry, lots of negative emotions, lots of negative self-talk. And we're not necessarily, we're not necessarily very open to learning. Now, what are the differences that are most obvious? Well, let's look at three areas where you can see that there's difference. There's differences in our thoughts, what's going on in our own head. There's differences in our posture, and there's differences in our voice. So our thoughts are much more likely to be positive when we've got that internal locus of control, when we've got high self-confidence, high self-esteem. They're much more likely to talk about how things are possible for us, how we can learn to examine and to learn from the mistakes that we've made. When we have low self-confidence or that external locus of control, our thoughts are much more likely to be around putting ourselves down. The mistakes, giving ourselves a hard time. We're much more likely to catastrophize things, to have lots of drama about things. We're much more likely to overthink things. And all of that overthinking can actually paralyze us. So we end up making no decision when if we had higher self-confidence and higher self-belief, we would have easily made a decision. Our posture, when we've got low self-confidence, there tends to be less eye contact, more slumped, more defeated. There's a whole lot of study that has been done about, lean back, stand up, hands on your hip. I've talked about this before in other leadershipizations that I've done, like, standing there, breathing in, bringing those shoulders back and head up and looking out to face the world, not slumped down and over something the entire time. Your voice, when you're uncertain, it's likely to be higher. There's likely to be hesitation in it. When you're confident, bring it down, slow it down. It's deeper. Demonstrate that you've actually got this. Now, there are also words that show up as being that help us to see a real difference between whether you've got high level of self-confidence or a low level. And that's an entire conversation in itself. So I won't go into them too much today. But what I'd like to do now is kind of look at some of the behaviours that can float to the surface when you're feeling that there's low self-confidence, and just listen to these and check to see which of these might apply to you. Now, obviously, there are times when all of us have some self-confidence lacking. There are times when all of us are, over the moon. We've got high self-confidence. So be aware that you can shift from high to low depending on what the circumstances are, and be kind to yourself around that. So the first one is seeking approval, seeking validation all the time. Got to have that validation. Want to know, why am I doing good enough? Now, asking for validation every now and then, that's perfectly okay. We all do that. Constantly needing validation, no. So observe yourself and notice what you're noticing about how often you're seeking that approval or validation. The second one is apologizing, saying sorry. Like that can just get out of control, absolutely out of control. And when you're doing it all the time, without you even realizing it, you're saying sorry for just being there. You're saying sorry for having an opinion. Now, there's an earlier leadershipization that I did all about this that looks at many of the statements that we make, particularly in meetings and things like that, where what we do is we undermine and apologize for having an opinion. So have a look or send me a note. I've got all of those saved. Send me a note, and if you'd like to see that one, I'll send it to you. Just reach out and I'm happy to send it to you. One of the other behaviours that helps us to understand in self-reflection or to observe in others that perhaps their self-confidence isn't as high as we might have thought is that they play safe, they play small. Sometimes they won't make a decision because they don't want people to be upset, or they don't want to deal with the fallout from whatever the decision might be. Some people stay in the same job for many, many years because it's comfortable, because it's familiar to them, because we all fear rejection. Like if I put my hand up and I want to go out there and get another job and no one responds to me, or I don't even get an interview, that makes me feel not good. So, we play small, we keep it safe, and in actual fact, what we're doing is living less of a life than we possibly could. As a leader, how this might play out is by saying no to lots of possibilities or lots of opportunities because you're a bit afraid of what the outcome might be. You're not sure. Maybe you're just still developing your relationship with your team, so you want to focus on that and not giving them opportunities to step beyond that. Can play out in lots of ways. The next one is that we're often too humble about our achievements. We downplay our achievements. We say, oh, those things are no big deal. Most everybody's probably done that. Give yourself a damn big pat on the back. Like, acknowledge your success. Acknowledge that you have achieved some of the things that you've achieved, because that helps you then to establish a position with other people, because they see, oh, okay, you did that. That's awesome. So make sure you don't downplay those too much. Next one is, that judge, that voice in your head that comes out. When we've got low self-confidence, we're often we're our own worst critic. We give ourselves a really hard time, and we focus on the errors and the mistakes that we may have made in the past or that we might be making right now. And we are so much more judgy of ourselves than we are to others. Often we say things to ourselves that we would never say to other people. So, that voice in your head. In my deliberate reset leadership intelligence program, we really look at how you can manage and deal with that voice in your head so that you're actively improving your self-confidence and doing what you can to learn to manage that voice in your head. Finally, it's wobbly boundaries. Now, boundaries. Oh, we need them. Sometimes we make allowances because we want to be liked. So when we're new in a role, or when someone new is around, has come in to a supervisory or as managing, as higher up or a peer to us, we want to be liked, and we can put some elasticity into our boundaries. And when we put that elasticity in, what we have to be really careful of is that we're not allowing really poor behavior, because every bit of poor behavior you let past, it's all about demonstrating to others that you don't respect yourself enough and that you're allowing that behavior to get by without you calling them out. So make sure that when you call people out, you see it as, hey, this is me respecting me and showing you that this is where my boundary is. So, when we have the biggest thing is we all want to be liked. We all want to be liked by others. And so we will wobble those boundaries, pull them back in again, and demonstrate clearly to others that you respect yourself. What can I say? The important thing here is to recognize that others are on the same journey as you. Our self-confidence can go up and down and up and down, depending on the situation that you're in. When you're doing something new, then that voice in your head is likely to be louder than it is when you're doing something that you feel really comfortable and familiar with. The common thread that will get you through all of this is you believing in yourself, you having your own back, you knowing that this is what I'm choosing to do. And it's something new, it's something challenging, but I've got this. Look at what I've done in the past. Here are my boundaries. I know exactly what it is that I need to be doing here. I'm good to go. Here I am. I don't need to be seeking people's approval because I have my own approval. I'm not going to apologize for people every time to others every time I want to speak. And I'm going to work really hard to push myself out of that comfort zone so I'm not sitting there all of the time. Believe in yourself. That's the thing. Hey, reach out if you would like some support. Questions and comments, put them in the chat below. Hashtag replay if you're looking at this again. It's been great spending this time with you talking about self-confidence, how you can identify whether it's high, how you can identify whether it's a little bit lower.